Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
One day, a young woman got off a country wagon that had just arrived at a famous inn in Chelsea called the Goat and Compasses. The inn's name used to be God Encompasseth Us. The young woman was about 18 years old and was nicely dressed in simple clothes. She looked healthy and pretty, showing she came from the bright sun and fresh air of the countryside. After getting off the wagon, the girl stood for a moment, not sure where to go. The lady who owned the inn saw her and asked her to come inside and rest. The young woman agreed and, thanks to the kind inn lady, soon sat by the fireplace in a nice room with a good meal in front of her. She was happy to have food after her long, tiring trip. "So, my girl," said the inn lady after hearing the young woman's story, "you came all this way to find a job and only know John Hodge, the wagon driver? He can't help you much to find a job." "Is it hard to find a job?" asked the young woman sadly. "Yes, good jobs are hard to find. But don't worry, child," said the inn lady. She looked proud as she talked. "Look at me. I left the country young like you with nothing. But I worked hard. I was a good worker before my husband, Jacob, made me the owner of the Goat and Compasses. So remember, girl." The inn lady might have talked more because she liked to talk, but she stopped because a man came in. The inn lady welcomed him warmly. "Hello, dame," said the man, who was well-dressed and middle-aged. "How's the ale selling? Is there any left in your cellars?" "Enough to give you a drink after your long walk," said the inn lady. She got up to get him some ale. "I did not walk," said the man. "I took a boat down the river. You know, dame, I always come to Chelsea to see if you need anything." "Yes, sir," replied the landlady, "and because you do business this way, you are now, as everyone says, the richest man in the Brewers' Corporation, maybe even in all of London." "Well, dame, that's good for me if it's true," said the brewer with a smile. "But let's have some ale, and maybe your pretty friend here will drink with us." The landlady quickly brought a jug of ale, knowing that her visitor always supported local drinks. "Very good, hostess," said the brewer after tasting it. "Well made and well kept." "Now, pretty one," he said, pouring ale into a glass, "will you drink this for your sweetheart's health?" The young country girl politely said no and blushed. But the landlady said, "Come on, silly girl, drink his worship's health. He might help you more than John the wagon driver." "The girl has come many miles," the hostess continued, "to find a job in town, so she doesn't have to be a burden to her family anymore." "To find a job," said the brewer. "Then it is lucky we met. Does she have any references, or can you vouch for her, dame?" "She has never left home before, sir, but her face shows she is good," said the kind landlady. "I promise she will work hard and be honest." "Because you say so, hostess, I will take her into my service. Just yesterday, my housekeeper was saying we need more help since my new job in the corporation means I entertain more people." Before the rich brewer left the Goat and Compasses, they arranged for the country girl to go to his house in the city the next day. Happy to have done a kind thing, the talkative hostess gave the young woman a long talk about her new job and the dangers of big cities. The girl listened politely, but if the landlady had looked closer, She might have seen that the girl had a quiet strength that showed the lecture was not needed. However, the landlady finished her talk, and by the evening of the next day, the girl started her job as a housemaid in the home of the rich brewer. We will follow the story of this girl. Soon, the job of housekeeper became available, and because she worked hard and was skilled, she got the job. In this job, she saw her master more often, and he admired how well she behaved and managed things. Slowly, he started to need her to be happy, and finally, he asked her to marry him. She said yes, and the poor country girl who left home 4 or 5 years ago became the wife of one of the richest men in London. For many years, Mr. Aylesbury, the brewer's name, and his wife lived happily and comfortably. He came from a good family and had better manners than his wife, but he was never ashamed of her. Her calm and strong character, along with her quick thinking, made her fit well at her husband's table as if she was born for it. Over time, Mr. Aylesbury became an alderman, then a sheriff of the city, and later, he was knighted. Because of his important role in the city, the king, Charles I, noticed him and gave him the title of baronet. Lady Aylesbury had a daughter in the first years of her marriage. This daughter was their only child, and naturally, all their hopes and wishes were focused on her. The daughter was 17 when her father died, leaving a huge fortune behind. At first, it seemed the widow and her daughter would get all the money without any problems. But this was not the case. Some relatives of the dead brewer claimed there was an old will in their favor from before he married. With her usual strength, Lady Aylesbury decided to fight for her rights. She chose a young lawyer she trusted, who had often been a guest at her husband's table. His name was Edward Hyde. He was very talented, even though he was only 24 years old. He had spent a lot of time with fashionable people, but had not ignored his studies and his family's wishes for him. However, Edward was nervous and hesitant to take Lady Aylesbury's case because he had strong feelings that made him afraid of the responsibility and worried about the outcome. The young lawyer helped the brewer's widow and daughter. He showed great speaking skills and legal knowledge and won their case. 2 days later, the happy lawyer sat with his 2 clients. Lady Aylesbury was usually calm, but now she warmly thanked him for saving her daughter from being poor. She also offered him a very generous payment. The young lawyer looked uncomfortable while Lady Aylesbury spoke. He moved in his chair, changed color, looked at Miss Aylesbury, played with the purse in front of him, tried to speak, but then stopped and changed color again. Lady Aylesbury, thinking only about how to show her thanks, did not notice his discomfort. She stood up and said, "To show that I value your help more than money, I want to give you another gift." As she said this, she took out a bunch of keys from her pocket and left the room. What happened between the young lawyer and Miss Aylesbury while Lady Aylesbury was away will be clear soon. When Lady Aylesbury came back, she saw her daughter with her eyes turned away and her hand in the young lawyer's hand. He was kneeling and asking for Lady Aylesbury's permission to marry her daughter. They both admitted they loved each other, and Lady Aylesbury soon agreed to their wishes. "Let me," she said to the young man, give you the gift I meant for you." She took out a beautiful gold chain. "This chain," she said, "was a token of gratitude from the ward where my dear husband lived." Lady Aylesbury's serious eyes filled with tears as she put the chain around Edward's neck, saying, "This chain was worn by a good and respected man. May you, my dear son, reach even higher honors." The wish came true, though not without danger and hardship. Lady Aylesbury's son-in-law became a famous lawyer and an important speaker in Parliament. When Oliver Cromwell executed the king and established the Commonwealth, Sir Edward Hyde, who had held a government job and was knighted, was too important in the Royalist Party to be ignored by the new rulers. He had to live abroad until the king was restored. While abroad, the exiled prince, later Charles II, respected him so much that he made him Lord High Chancellor of England. This was confirmed when the king returned to his throne. Later, Hyde was made a baron and then an Earl of Clarendon, a famous title in English history. These events took a long time, during which Lady Aylesbury lived quietly. She was happy to see her daughter become the Countess of Clarendon and her grandchildren become part of the noble class. But an even greater fate awaited the descendants of the poor girl who came to London in a wagon. Her granddaughter, and Hyde, was a young lady with spirit, wit, and beauty. While living abroad, she became a maid of honor to the Princess of Orange. There, she caught the eye of James, Duke of York, and brother of Charles II, who secretly married her. When their child was born, they had to announce the marriage publicly. Soon, Lady Aylesbury's granddaughter was accepted by the royal family and the people of England as the Duchess of York and the sister-in-law of the king. Lady Aylesbury did not live long after this event. But before she died at an old age, she saw her descendants become heirs to the British crown. King Charles had no children, so his brother's family had the right to succeed him. Two descendants of the poor peasant girl eventually became queens: Mary, wife of William III, and Queen Anne. Such were the fortunes of the young woman whom the kind landlady of the Goat and Compasses worried about giving false hopes. In one thing, the hostess was right: success in life must be worked for. Without the good behavior and hard work that made her wealthy employer love and respect her, the country girl's story could not have turned out this way.